Hi guys, today we are going to learn about manual mode on your camera. Ivor is going to join us because he refuses to take a nap. I'm not talking about manual focus. Focus is on your lens, that's different. I'm talking about the light that is let into your camera and the way you control how bright the photo is. That's the manual I'm talking about. 3 words: ISO, shutter speed, aperture. The ISO is the first thing I go to. Think of the ISO like blinds in your house. Bring the blinds up in your house, it's brighter. When you bring the blinds down, it's darker. It doesn't change the sunlight outside, it just changes how much light you're letting in. The lowest you can go is 100. That's what you're at if the sun is like, hello, I'm here. When I'm taking pictures of a sparkler exit, I'm at like 5,000, 6,000. The thing about going high with ISO is that it gets grainier the higher you go. If you're like at 500, 600, that's fine. But if you get up into the thousands, sometimes it's grainy. Grain is kind of cool these days, so it's fine. The higher the number, the more light is coming into the camera, okay? Got it? Shutter speed's next. The shutter speed is how fast the shutter is opening. And if the shutter's open longer, it's letting in a lot of light. This is where it gets kind of tricky because the higher the number, the faster the shutter and the darker the photos. Higher the number, faster the shutter, darker the photo. So on a really, really sunny day, I want my shutter speed very high because I want less light coming into the camera. So on a dark day, I have that shutter speed at like 200. Let me tell you some of the numbers that correlate with what you're doing. If you're at 4,000, then that means you're taking a picture of like an eagle flying by. Something that's very fast. Cheetah. If you're ever taking pictures of a cheetah, 4,000 shutter speed, that's where it's at. If you're at 1,000 shutter speed, that probably means you're at a sporting event or your kid is like really fast. I'm not that picky on where I go on shutter speed for family sessions because I mostly just want my aperture to stay where it is, so my shutter speed gives me some wiggle room. So sometimes I'm up at 1,000, 1,500 really high, and then sometimes I go down to 200. If you catch yourself always going below 160 on the shutter speed and you're seeing a lot of motion blur, that just means you have to be more diligent about raising the ISO where you need it to be. The third word today is aperture. It's also known as the f-stop. If there ever was a reason to learn manual, this is the reason. The lower you go on the f-stop, the more bokeh you're going to have in your photos. My f-stop is consistently at 1.4 or 1.8 at all times. The only time I bring my f-stop above 1.4 is for a wedding party or a family that's like bigger than 10 people, because when you have a low f-stop on that picture, it'll start to blur out the people on the edges and you don't want that. If you want to take your photography to the next level but you haven't gone below 3.0 on your aperture, now is the time. So we're about to go on a session with my kiddos. A lot of people think that they're like the most photogenic, well-behaved little picture takers. You're about to see that it's actually a little more difficult. They're cute, but so the very first thing I'm doing is I'm realizing it's so bright right now, so I'm changing the ISO down to 100 because that's the lowest it can go because it's so bright. And then I'm taking my shutter speed 8,000 because it needs it. Stand right there, look at me.
And then go potty.
Okay. Keep looking. Look down. You guys look at each other. Indy, look at your sister. I'm gonna show you what it looks like with an aperture that's much higher. So that is what it looks like. An f-stop of 8.0. Everything is way too in focus. And I take it back to 1.4. Indy, smile.
Hey, Dad. Here you go.
Thank you.
One flower to you.
Okay, and then let's have you guys do one more hug and then we'll be done. Okay, that's a wrap for the pictures of my kids. I'm shooting on a lens that has a very short focal length, the 35mm. When you're on longer lenses like the 70 to 200, you don't need the aperture to be as low. So for example, just a minute, the 70 to 200 lens only goes down to 2.8. That doesn't mean it's not gonna have great bokeh. It's actually really great because has a longer focal length. Okay, I hope you learned something. You just gotta get out there and practice. That's gonna be the best way to learn. I promise it'll be second nature if you just practice, practice, practice. The most important thing for me is that you're learning something. So if you learn something and you feel like your photos got a little better, I would love to see it. Write me on Instagram, and I don't know, it'll make my day. I appreciate it. Okay. Well, I'm signing off. Thank you so much. Bye.